Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ha-Har Lahadu kulanu ke'echad.
As we move towards completion of Sefirat HaOmer, a lengthy 7-week process, in which we count Yamim and Shavuos, and anticipating the upcoming Chag HaShavuos, which of course we celebrate at its culmination, this constitutes an ideal opportunity to contemplate each Sefirat HaOmer and Chag HaShavuos, as well as the interaction between them, hopefully in a manner that will illuminate them and help us or enhance our preparation for the upcoming Yom Tov. Let's begin by noting that each of these institutions, Sefirat HaOmer and Chag HaShavuos, are beset by anomalies, puzzles, intriguing quizzical facets which require our attention. And perhaps if we investigate them, we may find a pattern that will constitute a resolution of both mysteries. Let's begin with the institution of Sefirat HaOmer. On the one hand, Sefirat HaOmer is clearly linked to the upcoming holiday of Shavuos. Clearly that's where it culminates, and there are other indications of that as well, as we'll soon note. Sefer HaChinuch, for example, says very explicitly that Sefirat HaOmer is intended to bring us to and constitutes from its very beginning anticipation of the holiday of Shavuos. Chinuch asks a very famous question: why is it we count up instead of counting down? After all, typically when we await the onset of something new, we would have done 49, 48, 47, only 23 more days to go, only 16 more days to go, etc. And here, on the other hand, we count up. The assumption, of course, is based on the premise that Chag HaShavuos is the purpose, is the telos of Sefirat HaOmer. And that is an assumption which the Chinuch retains, notwithstanding his proposed solution to the problem. On the contrary, actually reinforces the impression. Chinuch says that the reason that we start with the lower numbers is because it would be too depressing. It's too far distant to reach our goal. If we were to begin with 49, that wouldn't be a source of simcha, but it would kind of be a discordant note. And therefore, we begin with the lower numbers, 1, 2, 3, working our way up. But indeed, the goal still remains achieving and attaining and realizing the moment of Chag HaShavuos. As the question why we don't switch in the middle, Chinuch notes that you can't have it both ways. You have to choose a method of counting, and that is sufficient to explain that particular phenomenon. The truth is that in the Torah itself, it's clear. If you look in the Parshios of the Moadim in Emor, Ramban makes the ha'ara that typically when it says Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor, that establishes an independent chapter within the Parshas HaMoados. Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Lemor is something which sets the discussion of Sefirat HaOmer off of Pesach and integrates it with Shavuos. See, the entire structure of the Psukim seem to establish that the link of Omer and Korban Shtei Alachem constitute part of the Torah's discussion of the holiday of Shavuos itself. Torah says practically nothing about the holiday itself. We'll get back to that in just a moment. But clearly the way in which the Psukim are formulated and presented links them certainly with the holiday of Shavuos. Indeed, the Abu Dram has a very striking suggestion. Rishonim were all troubled why it is that there's no bracha of Shechiyanu, Birchas Hazman, in the saying of Sefirah. There are all sorts of different answers to this question. The Balamar and others suggest or posit different solutions to the problem. But the Abudram makes the suggestion that the Shechianu that we say for the holiday of Shavuos covers Chag HaShavuos. So clearly, Sefirah is linked, according to quite a few sources, with the holiday of Shavuos. But what's puzzling, what's intriguing, is that there are contrary indications as well. The Rambam, for example, discusses the dinim of Sefirah, dinim of Omer in general, but also the dinim of Sefirat HaOmer, not in Perek Ches of Chos Tmidin and Musafim, where he discusses the holiday of Shavuos and the Korbanos Musaf that are brought then, and the Korban Shtei Alechem, but in Perek Zayin, when he speaks about, or in the context of dealing with Chag HaMatzos and its Musafim. The Avnei Nezer, in a very fascinating tshuva, trying to explain the very astonishing view of the Ramban in Masachet Kiddushin, that women are obligated in the mitzvah of Sefirat HaOmer, notwithstanding the fact that it is a mitzvah seishes man grama. So the Avnei Nezer makes a suggestion that Sefirat HaOmer is connected to the holiday of Chag HaMatzos, and since matzah is an exception to the rule of nashim being pturos mitzvah seishes man grama, so too the Sefirah, which stems from and is connected with Chag HaMatzos, also continues this particular exception. So there are indications that Sefirat HaOmer actually is linked. There are certainly even stronger indications that the Korban HaOmer is linked in this way, but even the Sefirat HaOmer is connected to Pesach. It's fascinating that the Ramban in his Perush al HaTorah and in the Perush of Rabbi Chassid, he says something very similar, takes literally a bridging or middle position. The Ramban suggests that Sefirat HaOmer is a kind of a Chol HaMoed, which connects between the holiday of Chag HaMatzos and Chag HaShavuos. And in that respect, Chag HaShavuos is truly an atzeres of Chag HaMatzos, in the same way that Shmini Atzeres is an atzeres of the other Tesvav holiday, namely Chag HaSukkos. That view obviously is highly symbolic, highly significant, establishing that Sefirat HaOmer is literally a transitional bridge between the holiday of Chag HaMatzos and the holiday of Chag HaShavuos, something which is fraught with hashkafic and halachic implications. The truth is that the entire phenomenon of Sefirat HaOmer's appearance in Parshas Emor also constitutes an irregularity, or at least a mystery. After all, Parshas Emor, the Parshas HaMoadim, is dedicated to the Moadim, and yet almost, a quarter of the psukim in the Parsha, maybe actually a little more than that, is dedicated to the Korban HaOmer, the Korban Shtei Halechem, and the Sefirat HaOmer that connects them. The Gra, in a famous comment in Hilchos Avel, suggests that anything that appears in the Parsha of the Moadim is related to Kedushas Hazman. That he says in a different context, but if we were to apply that to these many psukim that speak about the Omer and the Shtei Alechem, it would appear, again, that Sefirat HaOmer isn't merely a din connecting these korbanos, but that the korbanos and the bridge Sefirah between them all constitute an aspect of Kedushas Hazman itself. Surely that's significant. The fact that the Omer and the Shtei Alechem appear in Parshas Emor and not, for example, together with the Musafim in Parshas Pinchas, reinforces this particular idea. So the question is, why all these anomalies? What is the true nature of Sefirat HaOmer? What's the reason for all of the mixed evidence and mixed information? Indeed, there is another interesting facet of this. If you look carefully in the Torah's presentation of the Sefirah and of the bridge between these two holidays, sometimes the Torah speaks about 49 days, and sometimes it speaks about 50 days. In Perek Chav Gimel, in Vayikra, in the Parsha of Emor, Psukim Tezayin, Yud Zayin, etc. Of course, Chazal noted this. Rashi quotes Ad Velo Ad Bechlal, or that the 50 relates to the Korban of Shtei Lechem. But the Rosh, in a famous comment, suggests that the last night of Sefirat HaOmer, one should say the count, and to say Umimachras, and tomorrow is Chag HaShavuos, the 50th day. So again, this small, challenging, discrepancy in the Torah itself between 49 and 50 highlights what seems to be a certain tension in Sefirat HaOmer and the extent to which it is part of or a preparation for, but discrete from, the holiday of Shavuos. Indeed, our practice is to wait on the night of Shavuos until we begin Mariv, until we say Kiddush, the Taz in Orach Chaim, Siman Tov Tzadi Daled, Ma'achrin L'Hatchil Arvis, B'Knisa Shavuos Kadei Shiu Imei Sefira Tmimos, and the Magen Avraham, Below Shavuos Say Mekadshin Alakos, Ad Seisuk Kalvim, Ziv Tmimos Tihiyena. This practice is very fascinating. And it was picked up in particular in the 14th and 15th century, and then from there pretty much adopted in most halachic contexts and environments. On the one hand, we are familiar with some other chagim where we are particular about not beginning early. For example, there's an interesting debate with regard to Shmini Atzeres because of the clash between the outgoing Sukkot and the incoming Shmini Atzeres, and discussion between the Marshal and the Taz. Of course, the night of Sukkot, when Sukkot begins, when Pesach begins, Tesvav, there are issues of not being makdim. But typically, there's a concept of Tosefes Yom Tov. So why, without there being a problem that is parallel to a clash, seemingly, or Tesvav requirement, why is there a delay of Shmoneh Esrei, of Mariv, and of Kiddush on this particular night? What's the idea behind Tmimos? Why does Sefirat HaOmer already, having been counted, why is it necessary to give the full amount of the day? So let's turn our attention briefly to the other series of anomalies in Chag HaShavuos itself. Of course, the most striking thing about Chag HaShavuos is its profile and its presentation in the Torah. No name, no date. Again, the Chinuch emphasizes the date. The Rambam in Hilchos Tmidim does not, but of course the Torah has it simply 50 days from the beginning of Sefirat HaOmer. But more than that, the actual date itself and its accuracy is a matter of great controversy. Tosfos and Avodah Zarah addresses this issue on Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. Tema L'man Damar B'Shiva B'Chodesh Nitnu Aseres Hadibros Ma Yom HaShishi. The assumption is it's Vav Sivan. We have drashos even from the very beginning of the Torah, Yom HaShishi, as reference to that day. But according to Rabbi Yossi, the Gemara in Shabbos, he was really given on Zayin Sivan. Tosfos' second answer, which is very intriguing, Hoysa Ru'ya Linosim V'Shishi Ela Shehosif Moshe Yom Echad Midaito. Moshe Rabbeinu delayed it a day. That's a very remarkable idea. Moshe Rabbeinu delayed the day for which the entire world had awaited, for which the whole entire world's existence was contingent, even if it was only a wait of a single day. Bereshis bara Elokim b'shvil HaTorah shenikra Bereshis. If Klal Yisrael were not going to accept the Torah, Tohu Vavohu would once again reassert itself, and Moshe Rabbeinu felt they weren't ready, and therefore they needed another day. Delay the presence of the revelation, the greatest single moment, and even the purpose of the world. But according to Rabbi Yossi, it sounds like we have the wrong date. The Magen Avraham, the Marsha, Numerous of the Achronim, also, as we noted earlier, some of the Rishonim, are very troubled by this discrepancy. The Rivash has a tshuva in which he says in Achanami that mostly we're interested in the Atzeres, not in the anniversary of Maimon Har Sinai Matan Torah. After all, that's not even mentioned explicitly in the Torah itself. Gemara Rosh Hashanah Daf Hey considers it could be Hey, could be Vav, could be Zayin. These discrepancies in the date, the absence of a name, the fact that the Torah doesn't define it as Matan Torah Seinu, all of that is left for Torah Shebal Peh to fill in the gaps. All of that is nothing short of remarkable. It's a phenomenon that is without precedent in Torah Shebechsad's presentation of any other of the Chagim. And of course, the question is why? This critical day, this day upon which the entire world rests, is shrouded, or its anniversary is shrouded in intrigue and a mystery. But I think that we begin to answer the question when we look at a very famous Gemara in Masechet Psachim, even as we remember that all of the details of how we meaningfully do celebrate and commemorate this holiday all come from Torah Shebal Peh, from the oral tradition. Even though we're celebrating the Ribbono Shel Olam's words, Maimon Har Sinai, the Aseres HaDibros. Gemara says in Psachim Daf Samach Ches Beis, Rabbi Lazar Omer Ein Lo Adam B'Yom Tov V'Lo Ochel Shose Yoshev V'Shoneh. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Chalkeu Chetzio L'Achila Chetzio L'Beis HaMedrash. Typically, it's a debate between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Lazar whether the most ideal way to spend a Chag is in focusing on Ruchnius or Gashmius. Obviously, the Gashmius L'Shem Avodas Hashem and L'Shem Hayom Tov. But what is the most appropriate way? And then he adds, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Hakol Modim Batzeres, when it comes to Shavuos, everybody agrees, D'Be'ina Nami Lachem, there has to be at least a component of Lachem. My Taima, Yom Shenitna B'Torah. It's the day of Matan Torah. And then the Gemara goes on to say that Rabbi Yosef said that Rabbi Yosef used to fast, and they used to fast on other Ma'abrinas, Rei Kula Shaita V'Yosef B'Tanisa, Lebar Me'atzerta Upuraya, Umalad Yom Kippura. Atzeres, Yom Shenitna B'Torah. And then finally, Gemara says in the name of Rabbi Yosef that B'Yom Atzerta he used to make a feast of Leigla Tlasa, Amar Ilo Hayom de Kagarim, Kama Yosef Ika B'Shuka. If not for this day, I'd just be a regular Joe. I'm Yosef, and I've had the meaningful, impactful life that I have only because of this particular day. What does it mean when the Gemara says that Shavuos is definitely a day which requires Lachem because it's Yom Shenitna B'Torah? Yom Shenitna B'Torah is the Ribbono Shel Olam's day. Is it Klal Yisrael's day as well? But I think that the answer, obviously, is embedded in this truth. There are really three aspects of this experience, of Maimon Har Sinai, Matan Torah, Kabalat HaTorah. On the one hand, there's the experiential element, the fact that the Ribbono Shel Olam's Gilui Shechina took place on this day. That in itself certainly is Dayenu. Indeed, that's the pshat, probably, Ilu Kavanu Fnei Har Sinai, L'Nasa Lanu Es HaTorah Dayenu, based on the Ramban, his famous view in his Perush HaTorah and Sefer Mitzvos, that there's a special zachar, special requirement to remember the day of Maimon Har Sinai, referring to the experience of that. We stand during the Aseres HaDibros on Shavuos to reenact the event, the experience of Gilui Shechina. And certainly that's one critical element of the day. The second day, of course, is Matan Torah, the tochen of all of this. The tochen is the basis of living our lives, our capacity to find meaning and direction through Taryag Mitzvos, through Limud Torah. But as far as that is concerned, mostly that is the Ribbono Shel Olam's appearance and our passive recipients. We're the passive recipients. we're the receivers of the Torah. But the third element is perhaps the most important, and that is Kabbalat HaTorah, that receptivity itself. Marshall explains in his Akdama to the Yom Shel Shlomo, every Jew was Makabel Torah according to his own vision and understanding, of course, with very small modifications, all within the realm of what constitutes Chefza Shel Torah. Clearly, receiving the Torah and becoming a junior partner with the Rebbeinu Shalom in the process was a critical aspect of all of this. Didar HaShulchan explains, Ilu kavanu fnei arsina v'lonasan lanu es HaTorah dayenu, that it means v'lonasan lanu es HaTorah. If the Torah had been given, but we hadn't been given the opportunity to become junior partners with the Rebbeinu Shalom in the process, meaning if we had not been entrusted with the responsibility and the methodology for Piskei Halacha according to the rules and regulations of Torah Sheba'al Peh, which require our painstaking attention, but also involve us with all integrity according to the right methodology and Masorah, then that would have been enough. But the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us more. What we truly celebrate on Chag HaShavuos is receiving the Torah, being ready to receive the Torah, and being junior participants in the process. That's why Hayu Nechonim, Shloshes Yamim, Ha-Gavohah, and the Prisha, and the Achana. Maybe that's why, that's what Tosas meant. Moshe Rabbeinu felt that maybe Klal Yisrael were ready for the experience and for the Rebbeinu Shalom's role, and for being Makabel what he gave. But truly to be ready, to receive, to be responsible, to hand it from generation to generation, to be part of the process, that maybe require an extra day. The Zohar says that the reason, Magen Avraham quotes it, that we stay up on the night of Shavuos, probably counterproductive to the maximal limud Torah you can do on the holiday, is because Klal Yisrael were asleep at the wheel in a way. They didn't fully appreciate and prepare in the advance of Matan Torah. And that's a critical aspect. Indeed, that's why there's Lachem, Dafka, and Shavuos, Kama, Yosi, Ika, Bishuka. For this reason, perhaps, we introduce the factors that are crucial to our celebration of this holiday, specifically by Torah Sheba'al Peh. Torah Sheba'al Peh is what guarantees our painstaking attention, our attention, our focus, and our immersion in every single detail. And it's also what then gives us license to become partners in this process. Therefore, the Shavuos that we celebrate is one which requires Torah Sheba'al Peh itself to clarify, to illuminate the date, the purpose, the goal, the mode, etc. But if this is the case, then we can appreciate that the perfect way to prepare for Chag HaShavuos is a bridge from Chag HaMatzos to Chag HaShavuos that begins with Cherus, Ein ben Choron el Mishosek B'Torah, Halo Avdei Hashem V'lo Avdei Paro. It begins with a Sefirat HaOmer, which is rooted in the holiday of Chag HaMatzos, as the Rambam and the Avnei Nezer explain, but whose goal ultimately is to prepare us one day at a time, 1 week at a time, that combination, Shvui and Yomi, to prepare us not only to experience and not only for the Rebbeinu Shalom to provide us with the substance of Torah, but to be active recipients, Mekablei es HaTorah, on that day as well. And indeed, that process of building from physical cherus to a point of responsibility and a keen understanding of our goal and purposes, our objectives, all of that makes Shavuos the perfect bridge, the Chol HaMoed, as the Ramban puts it, that links one to the other. Day number 49 and day number 50 are both critical. We finished the preparation, Umachar, Umachraso, Hu, Yom HaShavuos. That, of course, requires Tmimos. You cannot jump the gun. The whole point of preparation, the whole idea behind being ready to receive the Torah is that there be tmimos, that you let the process unfold with integrity and with absolute rigor. Rabbi Yossi holds that actually Torah was given on the 7th day of Sivan. But maybe we celebrate or commemorate the 6th day of Sivan because that's the day in which Klal Yisrael were truly prepared. We celebrate not only Nesinas HaTorah, but also Kabalat HaTorah. And for this reason, we're able to accentuate the concept of Torah Sheba'al Peh. We're able to appreciate the interplay between Torah Sheba'al and Torah Sheba'al Peh. And we're able to understand that Sefirat HaOmer is not merely the count between the Korban HaOmer and the Korban Shtei Alechem, but the transition from the Korban of Se'orim to the Korban of Chitim, the transition from a holiday in which Chametz is anathema because it represents unrestricted growth without direction. It represents the dangers when you have physical liberation without yet having Kabbalas HaMalchus Shemayim. But all of that through the Sefirah leads to the Korban Shtei Alechem, the Korban of Chitim, but also the Korban in which you are focused actually on Chametz. Moreover, a Korban with no Kmitza, a Korban which underscores the principle of Lachem. This has been a particularly difficult tkufa for all of us, obviously, for the world, for the Jewish community, for Torah community, which misses its institutions, and all of the amenities that come with that. We've suffered tremendous personal losses, tragedies. People are anxious, etc. There's no better time to recommit to the principles that are indispensable for a meaningful life, to the things that we hold dear and that give our lives quality and meaning. Therefore, as we conclude or march towards the conclusion of Sefirat HaOmer, with its anchor firmly in Chag HaMatzos, its goal in Chag HaShavuos, but a process which requires Tmimos, Yomi, and Shavuot, as we build ourselves up as individuals and as a community to be ready not only for Matan Torah, not only ready for the experience of Gilui Shechina, but also for Kabbalas HaTorah, with all of the responsibility and all the involvement that that requires and entails, we should do so with a sense of confidence, with a sense of joy, with an appreciation that indeed, Kama Yosi Ike B'Shuka, if not for that day, we really would have difficulty integrating tsaros and knowing how to respond in crises, etc. But it's a day of lachem, it's a day of simcha, precisely because it is the foundation and the basis of our purpose. So I want to wish everybody an upcoming Chag Sameach, and maybe be zocha to extricate ourselves from our present difficulties and continue to enjoy the special opportunities of chavayas, of the experience, Matan, and Kabbalas HaTorah. Thank you very much.
כאיש אחד, אוי אוי בלב אחד, Vayichan sham Yisrael.